Hello everyone, welcome to GS Score. This is Ajay Shah. And again today we are going to discuss 10 questions, 10 MCQs from UPSC prelims point of view. So let's start our question answer discussion. So this is the first question for you and this question is about quad grouping. So let me read the first statement. So the first statement says quad group is a closed group consisting of India, Australia, Japan and US. So this is very correct. What is Quad? Quad is nothing but Quad is an international grouping, and that is of four countries. That is India, Australia, Japan, and US. And this Quad grouping is popularly known as League of Democracy, Alliance of Democracy, or Arc of Democracy. This group was basically mooted by Japanese PM Shinzo Abe in 2007, and he floated an idea in context of rising China, and he wanted a League of Democracies in Indo-Pacific region. So this grouping can be seen in context of rising China and aggressive China, basically a group which want to contain rising China. Now, the second statement, Japan pioneered the initiative in 2007 as a coalition of maritime democracy. So this statement is also correct. Now, third is first Quad talks were held in India. So first Quad talks were not held in India, but it was held in Manila, Philippines in 2017. So third statement is wrong. 1 and 2 are correct. So option A will be the correct answer. Now this question is a very factual question. This is about 45th G7 summit. So where was 45th G7 summit was held? It was held in France. Now 45th G summit was held in France. 46th G summit is going to be there in US. And 47th G summit is going to be there in UK. So now just for a value addition, what is G17? G17 is an international grouping. It is basically a grouping of developed countries, developed economics, and it was founded in 1973 after oil crisis. And the members of this grouping are France, Germany, Italy, Japan, US, UK, and Canada. So few things you should keep in your mind. The first thing is that India, China, Russia, the major powers, they are not part of G7. Second thing is that Russia was the part of G7, and when Russia was part of G7, it was called G8. But Russia was expelled from G8 in 2014 after Ukraine crisis, and after that it again became G7. Now why this is a news? This is a news because G7 summit was supposed to be there in United States this June only, 2020. But Donald Trump, he said that G7 doesn't represent the global world. And so to become more representative, he has invited India, Russia and Australia in November G7 summit. Okay. So that's all. Let's move to the next question. So this question is on Armed Forces Special Power Act. Again, one of the much debatable issue in our country. So let me read the first statement. Ministry of Home Affairs is responsible for the imposition of armed forces in UT of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh after their reorganization. So this statement is correct because before reorganization, along with Ministry of Home Affairs, Governor of J&K was also empowered to impose armed forces in Jammu and Kashmir. But after the reorganization, now it is the sole responsibility of Ministry of Home Affairs who can decide whether to impose or not armed forces in Jammu and Kashmir. So first statement is correct. Now the second statement, presently it is applicable in the entire state of Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland. So this is wrong because it is applicable in entire state of Nagaland, but as far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, it is applicable only in the 3 districts of Arunachal Pradesh and not in entire Arunachal Pradesh. Fine. So just for your so which will be the correct answer? Correct answer will be option A. So just for your value addition, armed forces, it emerged in 1958, and when it emerged, it was basically to regulate the disturbed areas in Northeast. So Irom Sharmila is very popular for this because she is against these armed forces. Now slowly in 1990s when militancy emerged in Jammu and Kashmir, so armed forces came into picture in Jammu Kashmir also. So let's move to the next question. So next question is about Panchi Commission. So Panchi Commission and Sarkaria Commission, these two commissions are very important, and whenever one has to analyze the relationship between state and center, then he often quotes Panchi Commission and Sarkaria Commission. Now Panchi Commission is important here because nowadays, and we can see in recent contemporary political development, in context of West Bengal, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh also, we can see that somewhere the role of governor became questionable when governor was asked to invite a particular political party, a particular coalition to form government. So it is a prime responsibility of a governor to form a stable government in a state, and Panchi Commission has given a sequence And he has asked that governors should keep in mind this sequence whenever he has to form the government in a state. So the very first thing, there are four statements, and we basically have to arrange this statement. So you should keep in mind that the first thing is that governor should invite that political party or that combination of political party which has widest support in the legislative assembly. So 2 will be the first option, first sequence, first one in the sequence. Now, after this, governor should explore if there is any combination, coalition, which was pre-electoral alliance. That means they formed alliance even before election. For example, in Maharashtra, BJP and Shiv Sena was a pre-electoral alliance, but Shiv Sena and Congress become a post-electoral alliance. So governor should always give space first to pre-electoral alliance, because pre-electoral coalition is said to be more stable. Number one. Number two, it also represents the will of people in better terms. Now, when we have to call a pre-poll alliance, then the first preference should be given to any pre-poll alliance that commands majority, and then in the sequence we should give space to that pre-poll alliance which is not commanding majority but that is largest in number. So second in the sequel will be pre-poll alliance or coalition having majority, and third will be group of parties which had pre-poll alliance commanding the largest number, okay, but not majority. And the last option should be given to the post-electoral coalition. So option 3 will be the correct answer. Now let us move to the election process of Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka, recently there was election in Sri Lanka. So that's why this question is there. So Sri Lanka operates under a semi-presidential system. Okay. Now first I will read the statements for you. Both India and Sri Lanka presidents are elected for 5-year terms. Prime Minister recommends the federal cabinet drawn from the parliament. And unlike President of Sri Lanka is both head of state and head of government. So let me just make the comparison between President of Sri Lanka, President of India, and President of US. So US is said to be a presidential system because the President of US is extremely powerful. But when we see in India, then in India, President is said to be a figurehead. But when we see in context of Sri Lanka, then Sri Lankan President is said to be he is both head of the government and is also head of the state. And apart from this, unlike Indian President, the President of Sri Lanka, he enjoys executive power, but he doesn't enjoy executive power like President of US. But he enjoys his executive power with sharing responsibility with the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. And apart from this, the President of Sri Lanka is elected directly by the people. And after his election, he elects a Prime Minister from the Parliament. And that Prime Minister has the responsibility to form the federal cabinet, and the term of the President is 5 years. So let us see. So Sri Lanka operates under a semi-presidential system. That's absolutely correct, because it is neither absolute presidential system nor it is absolute parliamentary system. So we call it semi-presidential system. Second, it is elected for 5 years. That's correct. Now, Prime Minister recommends the federal cabinet. I told you that's correct. Now, unlike India, President of Sri Lanka is both head of the state and head of the government. This is also correct. So all the statement 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct. Now, Operation Sadbhavana. So again, it's a very factual question. So just I will take you to the background. So in India, if you see any disturbed area like left-wing extremist areas, or you take the example of Northeast, or you take the example of Jammu and Kashmir, then you will see a peculiar thing that there is a gap, there is a trust deficit between the armed forces, paramilitary forces, even police, and the common people. And so the government from time to time evolve new ideas, new innovation, so that this gap gets minimized, because ultimately the paramilitary forces or the defense forces, they are to protect the people, and so the welfare of the people, the trust of the people, that should hold very high level of gravity. And so Indian Army has started Operation Sadbhavana in Jammu and Kashmir. And the objective of this Operation Sadbhavana is to win the heart and minds of people. That is, Indian Army is going with the combination of hard power and soft power, that is called as smart power. That means hard power will be there, but along with hard power, soft power will also be there. So under this Operation Sadbhavana, the Indian Army will do lot of work like education, women empowerment, youth empowerment, infrastructure, motivational tours, water supplies, engagement with the local representative like Sarpanch, Mukhya, and all. Okay. And a similar, we can, just for your value addition, a similar program is there in Northeast, and in that program is called Operation Samritan. Fine. And also there is a program called Civic Action Program, that is basically by the paramilitary forces CRPF in the left-wing extremist areas. So now this question is from current affairs, from the recent flood issue of Kerala. So let's read the statement. Operation Madad was a rescue and relief operation in the flood hit Kerala launched by Indian Army. So Operation Madad, that is correct. Operation Madad was name of the operation in the rescue and relief operation in the Kerala, but that was not by Indian Army, but that was by Indian Navy. Now second, let us see. Operation Sahyog was launched by Indian Navy to assist the victims of earthquake and tsunami in Indonesia. So this is also wrong, because Operation Sahyog was launched in Kerala, not in Indonesia, and that too by Indian Army, not by Indian Navy. So both statement 1 and 2 are wrong. So correct answer will be neither 1 nor 2. Now Nishtha. Again, this is a question from government scheme. So again, it's a very factual question. So we will not read all the options. Directly, I will tell you what is Nishtha scheme. So again, Nishtha scheme is nothing but Nishtha scheme is a program in which government is trying to build the capacity of the teachers. You might have seen in various surveys, various empirical studies that in India, and particularly the teachers who are in primary school, they lack the kind of resources, the kind of capacity which is required to build the capacity of the students. And so the government has started this Nishtha program, under which the government will give lot of resources, and the resources like online study material, then online tutorials, then online engagement program, then acknowledge, then a type of linkage and connection with some research institutes, etc. So correct answer will be, it's a capacity building program for improving quality of school education through integrated teacher training. So B is the correct answer. Now let us see this. Section 11 of the Representation of the People Act 1951 was is news recently. So what is this section 11? The first is it empowers Election Commission to remove any disqualification. Second is electoral rolls. Third is code of conduct. And the fourth is funding. So it's a purely factual question because it was in news, and the correct answer is it empowers Election Commission to remove any disqualification. Now just let me take you to the background why section 11 was in news. So the current Chief Minister of Sikkim, that is Prem Singh Tamang, he was disqualified by the Election Commission of India for 6 years. That means he was barred to fight any election for 6 years. Now why he was barred? Because Prem Singh Tamang was convicted in a corruption case for 2 years, and so Election Commission of India barred him to fight election for 6 years. Now what Election Commission of India says, that the section under which Prem Singh Tamang was convicted, sentenced, that section was omitted in 2018 from Prevention of Corruption Act, and that sentence got reduced to 1 year in place of 2 years. And since that sentence got reduced from 2 to 1 year, so Election Commission has justification, legal justification, to waive off the 6-year disqualification period from Prem Singh Tamang. So section 11 says the same thing, that is, as per the section 11, by the use of section 11, Election Commission of India can remove any disqualification. But the thing is that Election Commission of India should keep the reason in record. So this is the reason which I told you. So A is the correct answer. Now the question is fast track courts in India. Okay, so what is fast track court? Fast track court is nothing but fast track is a court which is founded on the concept of speedy judicial trial. So you might be knowing that in India there are a lot of backlog cases. In fact, in a recent survey it has been found that in India there are 3 crore pending cases in both civil and criminal area. And so the government is trying different methodologies, different innovation to make this justice system speedy. Fine. So one of the fast track courts is again one of the system. So let me read the first statement. Fast track courts were established in India on the recommendation of 11th Finance Commission in 2000. So this is again a tricky statement because people by using common sense might feel that what's the relation between Finance Commission and fast track court. So it might be law commission, but it is not the law commission. This statement is correct. It was 11th Finance Commission in 2000 only. And the concept of fast track courts emerged during Vajpayee government. So statement 1 is right. Second, These are special kind of courts which have exclusive jurisdiction over a particular category of law. So this is correct because fast track courts have special jurisdiction, special, they're entitled to look after only exclusive jurisdiction over a particular category of law. Now you should not confuse between fast track court and a special court. A special court is a very different thing. For example, we have a special courts for cyber, we have a special courts also for Prevention Corruption Act, we have a special courts in many places. But as far as fast track court is concerned, that is a very different thing. And fast track court at present in India is there to deal with sexual violence against women, and also to deal with POSCO. So second statement is correct. Third statement, retired judges are eligible for selection in fast track courts. That's very correct because in fast track court, normally judges are taken on ad hoc basis because these are not these are not a permanent course. Government of India from time to time, they extend the tenure and duration of fast track courts. For example, recently why this was in news, because government has recently enacted the fast track courts to deal with the cases of POSCO. So third statement is also correct. So 2 and 3 will be the correct. I'm so sorry. 1, 2, 3. All the statement 1, 2, 3 will be correct. That is option D is the correct answer. So that's all up to today. I hope you you have liked the class. So please like and subscribe our channel for more such videos. Thank you very much. Thank you.